बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अस्सलामु अलैकुम रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू। Dear students, welcome back to the online class. 10th class computer, chapter number 4, conditional structure, lecture number 21. So let's start our lecture. In our previous 20 lecture, we discussed 3 chapters, chapter number 1, 2, and chapter number 3. So first of all, let's review what we discussed from the lecture number 1 to lecture number 20. We know that in our lecture number 1, we discuss about the unit number 1, and in unit number 1, we discuss about the problems. So today we discuss something about our previous lectures. So first of all, we discuss about the chapter number 1, then 2, then 3, and then we start the next chapter, chapter number 4. In chapter number 1, first of all, we discuss about the problem. It means whenever we have some problem in computer, so first of all, we have to read the problem carefully and understand the problem carefully. Then, when we read the problem carefully or understand the problem carefully, then we try to solve problem. Okay. Now, whenever we have the problem, so after the reading of that problem, we must know that some data is given in the problem and some data is for the finding. Let's suppose we take an example from the theorems. In mathematics from the class number 9, you learn different types of theorems. Let's suppose chapter number 10 and theorem number 10.1.1. So whenever we have a problem, means theorem. So first of all, our first purpose is to read the theorem statement very carefully. And after the reading of the statement of the theorem, we come to know that some data is given. Let's suppose two sides and one angle is given. Someone asks you in a theorem, two opposite sides are congruent and one angle is congruent. So this data is given from the statement of the problem. Now, normally at the end of the statement of the theorem, we know that a statement tells us what we have to prove. So we come to know that this is to prove. So same as when we have the problem in our computer or C language program. So we must know that what we have to do and on which data we have to do. Okay. Now the next step. In chapter number 1, next thing which we discuss, that is the solutions. Candid solutions. Now, what do you mean by the candid solutions? Now, candid solution is all the possible solutions which gives you the correct result, that are called the candid solution. Means, let's suppose if any one of you comes to school, Shining Star Public School, so he can adopt the different methods or different ways. Let's suppose we can come to the school from the Girja Road or from People's Colony, from Sadar, okay, Bakra Mandi, Range Road. So these all the ways come to the a single path, Shining Star Public School. So it means if we have the different ways for achieving our result, these ways are called the candid solutions. Let's take another example. Let's suppose we have a equation x square plus 5x plus 6 equals to 0 in mathematics. Now, we have 3 different ways to solve this. Number one, we can solve this equation with the help of quadratic formula. Number two, by factorization method. Number three, by completing square method. So it means we can achieve our result by using three different methods: completing square method, factorization, quadratic formula. Now, all these three are the candidate solutions according to computer. All these three are the candidate solutions. Okay, now, but we also know that whenever we have these different types of candidate solution, we can adopt only one as in your paper. Let's suppose I give you the question x square plus 5x plus 6 equal to 0. So, and find the value of x. So, you can adopt a very simple method, or you can say that we can adopt a single method. Either we adopt the factorization, either we adopt the quadratic formula, or either complete square method. Now, which method we adopt? How we decide which method we adopt? So, the answer of this question is we adopt the method on the basis of three conditions, means criteria. What is the criteria for deciding about the candidate solution? So, for the deciding about the candidate solution, the criteria is first thing which we check in the solution is speed. Speed means whenever we have the problem and we have the different solutions, different candidate solutions, so which method have the greater speed? Let's suppose we know that complete square method and quadratic formula. These two methods takes a lot of time for the solution of a question. But factorization is much easy, and so we adopt the factorization because when we solve the question with the help of factorization, so it is faster and easiest way to solve the any equation. So that's why we adopt factorization. So in computer, we check that if we adopt this candidate solution and when we implement this candidate solution as a program, so can this work in a speed or can it run faster than the other solutions? So our first criteria is speed. The second one is cost. Cost effective means whenever we have a different types of solutions, so we adopt that solution which have the cost effective, mean which is the cheaper. So let's suppose we have the different ways to come in school, so we adopt that way in which we pay less than the other ways. Let's suppose if we want to let's suppose if we want to come to the school of the state number 22. So we adopt the shortest method from which we come to the school 22 as fast, but let's suppose we adopt the method which we use the bicycle or bike. Okay, because bicycle and bike is cheaper than any other vehicles. So it means whenever you adopt the method, you have to check first of all speed of that method, second cost of that method. Now then third is complexity. Complexity is means whenever you adopt the candidate solution and after the implementation of the candidate solution, you check is it this method is simple or complex. As we know that from the quadratic formula, factorization and complete square method, the difficulty in the method is completing square method. So we cannot adopt the complete square method. We can adopt the quadratic formula or factorization. So these three things are the, we say that these three are the conditions, or we can say that these three things are the criteria for selection of the best candidate solution. For the selection of best candidate solution, we have speed, cost, and complexity. Okay. Now, when you decide a solution for the implementation of the program, So what is your next step? Your next step is you have to write an algorithm. Algorithm means on your copy, on your page, anywhere, you have to write some algorithm for the problem. Okay? Algorithm means stepwise. Stepwise, all the procedure or techniques or plan. Algorithm is, we can say that algorithm is the procedure, plan, or technique, anything which we adopt for solving our problem. So, in chapter number 1, we discuss about the algorithms. Okay, so we write the 13 algorithms in our chapter number 1, and we know that every algorithm starts from the start and end at the end. Let's take an example. How we write algorithm. I know all of you know very well, but let's revise our chapter number 1. So if we want to calculate the area of a triangle, area of triangle. So for this problem, our first step is start. Simple. Step number 2, we know that for the area of triangle, we must have two things, base and height. Base and height. So step number 2 means, in step number 2, let b equals to 5 and h equals to 10. B equals to 5 and h equal to 10. Means we know that for the area of triangle, we must know base and height. So in step number 2, we take the base and height. Okay, now step number 3. In step number 3, when we have the base and height, we must know the formula of area of triangle. So in step number 3, we write the formula. Formula is A equal to, A stands for area. A equal to bracket B steric H divided by 2. That is the area of triangle. So in third step, we calculate the area of triangle, B multiplied divided by 2. Now, the fourth step. In fourth step, we write output A. Output A. A means area of triangle, which we calculate in third step. So fifth step is stop. It's very simple to write any algorithm. Okay, only 5 steps. Start. Number 2, take the values. Number 3, put values in the formula. Number 4, display your result, and at the end, number 5, stop our algorithm. Okay, so you can write the different types of algorithms, and you know very well how to write the algorithms. Now, next thing which we learn in this chapter number 1 is flow chart. Flow chart. Okay, okay, all of you open your books of the computer science, and you can ask me for the different questions from the chapter number 1, 2, and 3, which you think that you have to ask this question. Okay, because today, first of all, we revise the chapter number 1, 2, and 3, and then we start the chapter number 4. Okay, so let's revise this chapter number 1, 2, and 3. You can ask the different types of questions from these 3 chapters if you have any problem. Okay, and at the end of this lecture, I have some announcement for all of you. So get ready for that announcement. Okay, so flow chart. Whenever we write the algorithm, so flow chart is a flow chart in which we represent the algorithm, but with the help of these different symbols. Symbols which we use in the flow charts may be a rectangular, diamond sign. Diamond sign means this condition sign, or we can say that the rectangle. Okay, and we can say that this all shape. Okay, so these are the different types of the shapes we use in the flow chart. Okay, flow chart is also a necessary thing which we have to use in our flowchart or we for the solving of programs. So our next step is we have to understand the chapter number 2, and the chapter number 2 is, what is your chapter number 2? In chapter number 2, we discuss about the more things and one step up to the flowchart and algorithms. In chapter number 2, we discuss the programming in C, means in which in this chapter we write some small programs. Okay, so in chapter number 2, the main thing which we discuss in chapter number 2, first thing is computer program. What is the computer program? Okay, so a computer program is a set of instructions written in programming language for the solution of some particular or a specific problem. Okay, it means we write a computer program for a specific purpose, for a specific problem. Means if we write a computer program for finding the area of a triangle, so it is only used for finding the area of triangle. It is not used for finding the area of the circle. So every computer program have its specific meaning or specific purpose. Now, the second thing which we learn in the chapter number 2, we know that computer program written for a specific purpose, but how to write a computer program? Keep it in your mind the syntax of everything. C language have the syntax of everything. Every rule have the, let's suppose, if else condition structure, if condition structure, loop, all the condition structures have their own specific syntax. Okay, specific syntax. The word syntax. What is the meaning of syntax? Syntax refers to the rules. Okay, we know that whenever we come to the school, schools have its own rules, discipline. So everything have its own rule. So C language program have its own rule. So syntax mean according to which we have to write our program. If we violate these syntax or rules, so our program will not be run, our program will be wrong. Okay, so we have to keep it in our minds what is the syntax of C language. Now, next we discuss in the chapter number 2 programming languages. Two types of programming languages we discuss, low level languages and high level languages. In low level languages, we discuss the machine language. Machine language is a dead language that is directly understood by the computer. That is the binary digits, 0 and 1. But machine language is very difficult for understanding for the human beings. And the second thing is assembly language. Assembly language is also machine language, but it is easier than the machine language. Okay. So as we know that machine language is directly understood by the computer, so assembly language is not directly understood by the computer. So for the translation of this language, we use the assembler, which translates the assembly language into machine language. The next is high level languages. Okay, now high level languages are those languages which are English-like languages. Let's suppose in high level languages we write printf, scanf, int, float, and enter a number, please input an age, these type of instructions. Okay, and high level languages, when we write these type of instructions, so computer cannot understand these type of instructions because computer can only understand the machine language. So that's why we use a different translators which translate this language to the machine level languages. Okay. Now, so the translators which we use for the translation of these languages is compiler and interpreter. Compiler and interpreter. So compiler is a software which we use in the C language. Compiler works as it compiles the complete program at a one time. At a time, it can compile the complete program. Okay, complete program. So, but interpreter can execute line by line. It can execute the line by line. Okay, so interpreter first of all execute first line, first statement of source program, then it execute it, then it can translate the second, then it execute second instruction, then it will execute the third. So it can execute all these instructions one by one. Now, the next is programming environment of a C language. I don't think so. We have to revise this environment. Okay. Now C language character sets. So in C language, we can use the letters, digits, special characters. Okay. The next thing which we discussed in the chapter number 2 is reserved words. What do you mean by the reserved words? The words that have some specific, or we can say that particular meaning in the C language program, that those words are called the reserved words, or we can say that the keywords. And these keywords cannot be used as a variable's name. Cannot be used as the variable's name. Okay. So next is the comments in C language, and we learn two types of comments: single line comment and multiple line comments. Okay, why we use the comments? We use the comments for understanding of the program. As we write our comments in the start of the program, this program related to area of a triangle. So whenever we see this program, we know that now in this program we have to find area of triangle. Okay, and these comments are not executable by the compiler. Multi-line comments mean we write at more than one line in a comments. Simple. Now the constants and variables. Constant means those values which cannot be changed during the execution of the program. And variables are those named memory location in which we can change our data during the execution of a program. Okay. So rules of the variables name, that are the, we don't use the space sign, we can use the underscore, and we cannot use the special characters. Okay, and we cannot use the keywords as a variable name. These are some instructions. So chapter number 2 is end. Now chapter number 3, input and output. In input and output, we only discuss about the two functions. Output mean printf and input mean scanf. Whenever we use the printf, it means we have to display something on our screen, and scanf means we have to use scanf for getting something from the user. Okay, and format specifier means %d or %f tell us which type of data we take from the user. If we use the %d, it means now we take the data from the user is integer, and if we use the %f, it means we can take the floating type data from the user. Okay, the next thing is escape sequence. So we have different type of escape sequence. Escape sequence means \n, which we use in the printf. We use \n for going to the next line, and \t for tab. Okay, and also we use different type of \. Okay, next, arithmetic operators, and we know that we have the 4 types of arithmetic operators: plus, minus, multiply, divide in mathematics. But in computer, we have 5 types of the arithmetic operators: plus, minus, multiply, divide, and remainder. Assignment operator. Assignment operator means sign of equal. The work of assignment operator is store the values of the right hand side in left hand side variables. Okay, simple. The relational operators which we use for the equal to and not equal to, simple. And logical operators are used for combining the two expressions and check for the conditions. Okay, so these are the chapter number 1, 2 and 3. Now in chapter number 3 we discuss about the increment and decrement. Increment and decrement, we discuss two things: plus plus and n plus plus. Means if we write this plus plus n and we write n plus plus, there is a difference between these two increments. Plus plus n means it will increase the 1 first and then use the value of n, and this second is meaning that first of all it use the value of n and then execute by 1, increase by 1. Means if we have the value of n 3, so this statement first means first it will be increased by 1, n becomes 4, now it will use the 4, and here first it will use the 3 and then increase by 1, it will become 4. Okay, so next is same the process in the decrement. Now the chapter number 1, 2 and 3 are end. We revise chapter number 1, 2 and 3. Today we discuss about the chapter number 4, and chapter number 4 is the conditional control structures. Okay, and in this chapter we discuss about the control statement, conditional statement, structure of if statement, use of if statement, structure of if else statement, all these topics. Okay, so we will discuss this chapter in our next lectures. So if you have any problem related to today's topic, you can text me